Saturday. It's time for Mark-A-Mania. Everyone mark out now. Only did the chorus.
Everybody, welcome. Welcome to Mark-A-Mania.
Hey, hola everyone, and welcome to the Mark-A-Mania. We're back after a week's absence. And James, the extreme Sarno, is still with us. Thank God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tony Stark in it.
Tony Stark in it, indeed.
And we still have the super famous God of Thunder, Zeus King
God
Dark.
of Thunder.
God of Thunder.
And the host with the most, Pedro.
I still got it in my head, Mark-A-Mania.
I just thought of it like after I got out of the shower, and I was like, oh, I don't have time to come up with the whole thing. But I can do that much.
So we're marking out with Zeus and Pedro, and we're marking out babies.
Oh yeah, go James.
Right.
Talking mass wrestlers.
I should have said that.
Some who are good and some who absolutely suck.
Los Conquistadores.
The Ding Dong. Oh yeah, the Conquistadors. How many Conquistadors were there? Like 6 of them, right? Some shit like that. Like it was like 3 separate guys for each character under the hood each time, something like that.
It could have been. Who knows with the way they were running shit.
Yeah, because I remember one guy was 6 foot tall, and the other guy was like 6'3", and the next time I saw them, they were both 5'8", and the next time I saw them after that, they were both 6'10". So what the hell?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, the mass wrestlers, for years and years, it's a mixed bag, because when it's done right, it's amazing, and when it's not, it's just some of the laziest shit you've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Like the Ding Dongs. Ding Dongs is lazy as fuck.
Yeah.
Was the Ding Dong from Impact, or was that from our TNA?
No. That was Bill Shaw, WCW, his idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was that thing from TNA that was like 2 guys in like flesh-colored bodysuits and a mask?
I totally missed out on that shit.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, we'll continue.
Good.
but yeah, I mean, and the whole thing is even like Doom, Doom was half-assed. That could have been so much better if they'd have had, if they'd have lucha'd them up and had them in full body suits, or mostly body suits and with some flash to it and stuff like that. I mean, I think that would have been better, because it didn't take long to figure out who they were.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they both, Butch Reed and Ron Simmons had both been in WCW, and then they kind of disappeared, and then here's Doom. If you weren't sure who they were, it didn't take you long to figure it out, because those masks did not hide much.
No, and not for nothing, Ron Simmons still looked like Ron Simmons,
Right. They look like who they were with the masks on. I mean, if you were, if you didn't know who they were by the time the Steiners unmasked them, then you were not a great. You're not going to be called on to identify a criminal in a lineup. So
you're either drunk, high, or stupid.
That's another way to put it, James. But I mean, we've all had our favorites, and every major, part of the world in the world of pro wrestling has had their share of great masked wrestlers, over the last. We're getting close to. We're getting close to Lucha Libre history being 100 years old. I mean, it's like what, about 80, 85 years old now?
Something like that, yeah. It's up there. It's up there.
I mean, because CMLL is how old now? 86?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty amazing. And,
well, I remember the first time I saw a masked wrestler, any masked wrestler at all, was Mil Mascaras. And to me, I thought he was a superhero. Then I found out he was on, he was on TV with the mask. I'm like, oh my God, this guy really is a superhero. I mean, I was a kid, but he was I saw him, I lost my shit, I was like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And then, there were others after that, but it was always Mil Mascaras for me. And I mean, he's a good wrestler, but he's not the greatest. I mean, there's. We all know the rumors on Mil Mascaras. He's stuck in his ways. He does business his way, and that's it. But at the time as a kid, I thought there was nobody greater than Mil Mascaras.
How much? How much older Mil Mascaras have you seen, James? Have you seen his stuff from Japan and Mexico?
I saw some of his stuff. I didn't really get into his older stuff until I was way older.
Because he has so many amazing matches for you to say, he wasn't.
No.
So good.
No.
That's not accurate.
I'm not saying he wasn't no good. I'm not saying he was that. He was good. But, as compared to luchadors today and stuff like that, he was good, but he wasn't the end all be all. He was good. But he has a reputation as he got older that he does business his way. Like, I give you a perfect example. There's a famous story in the Royal Rumble where, you get thrown over the rope. Obviously, you're eliminated. Well, he kept insisting to do a flying body press over the top rope. Right. How can you do that if all you got to do is eliminate yourself? He didn't care. He wanted to get his spot out. He insisted on doing business his way. He wanted to get his work in. That's it. He had that reputation. Mil
Mascaras was more than just good. Let me just say, okay. He was excellent. Well,
the stuff I've seen, he was good. He was good.
He was more than good. He was excellent.
Okay.
He has tons of great matches out there for people to see, and he is someone who took the almost the gospel of Lucha Libre and spread it throughout the entire world.
Yeah, like I said, to me, he was a superhero. But to me, was he the best wrestler I've ever seen? No. And then, as I got older, and then, as he get older, you hear the stories of him in WCW and WWE, about the whole thing of wrestling in the garden under the mask. They were trying to make him take it off. I mean, all kinds of stupid shit.
That there's sadly, there's just too much of Mil Mascaras. Is kind of influenced by that late '80s, early '90s, run that match with Cactus Jack, and that's sad because
Mick Foley burying him in his book has influenced a ton of people's opinion on Mil Mascaras.
Mil Mascaras wrestled in North Carolina quite frequently in the 1970s in the old IWA, which was a promotion that would run in Winston-Salem, among other towns. And he was the IWA world champ, and that was it didn't survive the 70s, but it was a big deal back then. And and then his Mil Mascaras run in WWF with Dusty Rhodes in the 70s was a hugely popular, huge crowd favorites. Now, I'm sure his his best work was probably stuff from Mexico and
I'm sure, yeah.
from the early 70s and the from any of the 70s really. I mean, he just we all start getting old at some point, but I mean, Mill was fantastic, and the problem with kind of bringing him back into WCW is nobody fucking knew Lucha Libre when they brought him into WCW, and putting with somebody like Cactus Jack was a stupid ass idea.
That was bad booking.
So
why didn't Jack badmouth him?
Because I guess he didn't give much to him in the match.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is there comes a point, okay, where you understand your own self-worth in anything, right? You understand all the shit that you've done and how big you are in the world, especially in your home country. And then when you've been told, hey, we're going to do you right, come here, we're going to showcase you because, you're the legend. And that's how they talked him up in the commentary, like they should have. But then,
right. Yeah, he is a legend,
right? But then, you put him with fucking Cactus Jack, who's not a lucha guy at all, not even remotely, and then all that shit comes out, and you find yourself you're not working with somebody who's who's keen to you at all. It's I can understand all of it, really. I can understand all of the resentment and being a pain in the ass to work with. It's like he's Mil Mascaras. I mean, it's like working with El Santo or anybody else. I mean, he's just but he was the first luchador that built a fan base in the United States.
Yeah.
And it was hugely over.
He's
like I said, I thought he was a superhero. I thought he was the first person I've seen leave his feet. He actually had the cape. He had the long cape. Remember the cape he used to have?
Oh yeah.
He had that big long cape. So I used to mark out when I was a kid. I thought it was like a legit superhero. That this guy's amazing.
Here's a good way to kind of look at it. Okay, El Santo and Blue Demon are like they're like they're almost like not real life. They're like mythical, characters.
Especially El Santo, yeah.
And they're kind of the ones who popularize the mask big time in Mexico. Like you have masks, but then these two are such huge stars. Like they really explode that sort of business. And they make the apuestas like, from big to like the biggest thing. And so you have them sort of establishing that, and then you have Mil Mascaras takes that to the world. He's the one who goes to Japan, he goes to the United States, he goes to Canada, he goes to Europe, he goes everywhere. He spreads the gospel of Lucha Libre like to the rest of the world in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that took a lot of it took a lot of courage, especially going out and doing all that by himself.
Yeah.
He didn't take somebody to feud with. He didn't. He went out there and he did it all on his own. So, I got nothing but respect for Mil Mascaras. Whatever people want to say about him.
I didn't say, just to clarify, Pedro, I didn't say he wasn't a good wrestler. It's just he wasn't, he wasn't, you would think that kind of entrance and stuff, he wasn't like that awe. Like, he was good. He wasn't the best. He was good. They're better luchadors. He was good. I'm sure he had great matches. He was good. He just wasn't like, oh my God.
Some of this depends on one's idea of what Lucha Libre is.
Right.
A lot of people, when they say Lucha Libre here, they're just thinking jumping, dives, this. They're not thinking like there's all this other nuance to it before.
And you got to remember what I'm looking at. He's wrestling in an old school WWF, and he doesn't have those. And he doesn't have those kind of matches because he doesn't have the people to do it with in the WWF at that time.
Well,
So he's relegated to wrestle their kind of matches. So at that time, when I was watching him, it was okay. You know?
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't having 5-star matches up in the WWF at the time. You know, that's what I saw.
Okay. I mean,
I didn't watch the, you know, I to be honest, I got back into Lucha Libre after watching 2 masked wrestlers being brought up by ECW. I saw Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis. And the ECW, Falls Count Anywhere. And that actually got me back into watching AAA, and then I was watching CMLL again, and all that stuff. You know, you know, I love Psychosis. I thought he's an amazing match wrestler. I thought he was the perfect villain of Ray.
Yeah, Psychosis was a good he was a good opponent for Ray.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray had great matches with so many people.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, at that specific point in time, Psychosis was a really good foil for Ray.
Mm-hmm.
He was
so
taller,
that's what actually got me back into watching Lucha Libre. Now that, and then, you know, after getting back into it, no Mask was just going past already. Done. It's over. You know? So it was a whole different vibe back then. You know, and the matches I saw with Mel were all the old school WWF matches, you know? You know, he wasn't wrestling those great matches in Mexico that I've seen, or in Japan.
well,
You know, it was how he was booked. It was how he was booked.
Yeah.
You should watch him versus Perro Aguayo in England. And they're just doing, it's just like all just grappling, just like catch wrestling kind of stuff. And it's all so smooth. And Perro Aguayo's just like making all these expressions like, like, you know, he's just like selling everything like, oh my God. Like, you know, like this guy came up with a counter for this. This guy came up with a counter for that. And then it blows up into a brawl at the very end. And the crowd is just like, and the commentary is interesting because it's bilingual. Like most of it's in English, but then occasionally there's a guy talking in Spanish. And Chris Adams is one of the commentators. And I was like, nice. Well, Chris Adams was around forever because this was from the 70s. And
well, you got to remember also that that's the kind of stuff that I haven't seen. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see. I mean, the matches I was talking about, like fucking Mil Masters versus Moondog Rex. I mean, come on. Right. You know, I mean, you know, it's a TV match. It's 3 minutes long, and that's it.
Hey,
I mean, you know, that's the shit I saw.
A quick aside here, Zeus. I think you showed us some clip privately recently of Chris Adams super kicking someone like from years and years ago.
Yeah, that was Terry Gordy.
Yeah, that was it. And was interesting watching it that he did the thigh slap. He slapped his leg when he did the thing, and I was like, oh, so they were even doing that like way back then. Yeah. I didn't realize, like, because yesterday I saw someone saying who was the first person to do the leg slap and stuff, and I thought about that clip you showed us.
Yeah, Adams was great at it, you know, and he was like one of the only guys doing that.
Yeah,
he just, you know, he throw his whole body into that kick, and he made it look great. And
he always looked like he was going to fall after he delivered it, right? He looked like he was going to keel over after he delivered it.
A lot of times, yeah, because I mean, he was, you know, selling that it was the end of the match, and he was fucking worn out because he'd been in a battle with, you know, with somebody. You know, that was the great thing about Chris Adams is that he was
so good, yeah. He was so good.
But you know, if you talk about like, you know, we bring up World Class there. So like, do you guys remember the Super Destroyers from
World Class? Oh yeah.
The Irwins.
Yeah.
And there was a point where they had and I don't know what promotion this is, but I'd seen either a clip or a photo, and it was like the Super Destroyer, the Masked Superstar, and oh shit, it was one other, might have been like the Grappler or something. But I mean, you talk about a rogues gallery, man. You know, that's three tough some bitches right there. You know, the
Well,
Grappler.
the grappler. I remember him. The grappler. He used to have the grappler. He used to have the word grappler down his tights. I remember that. Everybody had those back in the day. Remember those?
Yeah.
You know.
He was the one. The Grappler is the one that used to say, "Beat me if you can."
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
He used to say, "Beat." You know, that was it. He didn't say anything else out of it. It was "Beat me if you can." And he, you know, he had a lot of success in Mid-South and in you know, Pacific Northwest is kind of where he ended up at. And sadly, they took his mask off in WCW. You remember that crap?
Well, they took Ray's mask off in WCW, put horn heads on his forehead. So there you go. That's all you need to know right there.
I think I've said this before. I always feel kind of glad that I saw him. I saw Ray like masked, and then I saw him unmasked. I didn't see him. I haven't seen him after that point, but yeah,
I was not into that whole filthy animals gimmick. That the whole shit with the horn heads on his fucking head, it was like a little daredevil. I was like, no.
Yeah, that was crappy.
No. I saw Ray when he was fighting Psychosis in ECW, and that shit turned me on. I went crazy because nobody's seen shit like that back then. I mean, unless you grew up in AAA and stuff like that, CMLL, I never saw shit like that. I also was trying to get Ric Flair over my friends who were all Hulkamaniacs, So I never saw shit like that. And then after I saw that is when I started getting into AAA and then CMLL and then all the match wrestlings and the rules and, like the no tagging and all that stuff. So that was awesome. But like there are a lot of masked wrestlers both down in Mexico and Japan and here in the U.S. where that, legendary. I mean, we can run down the list. We can go like Mr. Wrestling 2, we can say the Spoiler, the Destroyer, all the old school cats, and then like you mentioned earlier, Pedro, you got El Santo, you got Blue Demon, and then even in Japan, you got Liga, you get, and I mean, who I think he's even greater than Liga just a little bit. Ultimo Dragon. Ultimo Dragon was.
I always felt that when it was Ultimo versus Liger, I always felt like Ultimo was a step ahead of him.
I always thought Ultimo was a little bit, I mean, I love Liger, but Ultimo Dragon. I mean, he used to walk around with all those belts. That was hot, man. That was a hot gimmick,
I think to talk about like them etymologically in a way, you have to mention Tiger Mask because Liger is basically trying to recapture Tiger Mask.
Now, hold on, Pedro. You mentioned Tiger Mask. Is it Tiger Mask a gimmick, or is it each specific wrestler behind the mask?
We're talking about the first one, Sayama.
Okay.
We're talking, because I mean the other ones is not the same deal. Like Masawa, he's Tiger Mask 2, but his Tiger Mask 2 stuff is not like that's not what you think of when you think of Masawa. You think of yeah, so I mean, there's no other Tiger Mask to when you say Tiger Mask, you mean Sayama. You don't mean the other ones.
I dig that. I dig it.
The other iterations were really just cash grabs.
Yeah, and I mean, if we've all seen the famous Tiger Mask matches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the way the crowd was for him, how crazy they were for him. I mean, I always felt the Jushin Liger thing is like they're trying to recapture that. And then, of course, Jushin Liger, much better wrestler, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, much stronger body of work, like et cetera, every metric. But Tiger Mask is the model which Liger and so forth like comes off of in a way.
And when you talk about all the things that Liger's career spanned, I mean, it's hard to put any other junior their career up with his. I mean, going through, he did an MMA fight. He did.
Shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, he had a brain tumor.
Yeah.
And he wrestled for 10 more years after that. I mean, he's been an incredible athlete, totally inspiring to, so many generations. And that gimmick, the gimmick is, I mean, it's kind of, it's crazy to look at, when the first time you see him, you're like, well, he's going to poke somebody's eye out with one of those horns. But then
wasn't he on the very first match in the very first Nitro?
Yes. Him versus Brian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome too.
Yeah. And the just to be able to go out on his own terms and wrestle with his old rival against Dragon Lee and Takahashi, Wrestle Kingdom, that was just that really made him happy. It made him feel good about closing the book, on his in-ring career, and and now he's now he's helping out with Stardom and commentary in New Japan, and it's just great to see somebody kind of be able to walk away and then still kind of have a career in it, and and after everything he's done. True.
Now there's another Japanese famous wrestler who's not. I wouldn't say, is he famous? Yeah. Is he as famous as Liger? No, but his career is pretty long too, and it's a little brutal though. The great Sasuke, I mean,
it was amazing.
Sasuke is a little brutal. I mean, his body is like it's like one big scar tissue.
That guy has had such an interesting life, right? Wasn't he elected to the government at one point in time?
I think so, Pedro. Yeah. I think
he at least ran for office, right?
So yeah,
maybe
something like that.
Ran.
Ran for office, I think.
Because I think Inoki and Hase are the only two that have.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I'll look it up.
Also, I mean, this is a man who, I mean, I'm not even making this up. He has done an adult movie.
Yeah.
Like, on top of all the wrestling stuff and running for office and this man has also done an adult movie.
Come on, him and Ishii should get together.
You knew James was going to go there.
How interesting a life is this? Would this guy's like autobiography be? Like, it would be.
Yeah. Well, there was another one around that time too. Now, maybe a little. He's not nearly as famous, but he came out of FMW. How about Hayabusa?
Oh yeah, he was awesome.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was more short-lived. He was short-lived, but he was, he had his moments.
Poor guy.
Yeah, that was. I think that that accident with Hayabusa, that was totally avoidable. If the in pretty much any if that had happened in All Japan or in New Japan, those ropes would have been tighter.
Yeah,
I think he would have gotten a better bounce on it, like he was, like he was hoping to get. So,
yeah, these things, it's sad, but he was good at his time, he was good,
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so political career, April 2003, Sasuke won election to the
he wasn't like that.
Yeah, prefect, making him the first actual masked legislator in history. He's the fourth Japanese wrestler to get elected to office.
This
Inoki,
man was in a portal and he's making laws.
right?
Who was the other one, Zeus?
Inoki Hase and Atsushi Onita.
Oh, Anita.
Oh, Nita. Oh, wow. Look at that.
But they were all elected to the Japanese Diet at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
national level.
Wow.
So
Oh,
and
Nita
then-
was just brutal.
yeah, and it said Sasuke lost his bid to become governor of Iwate in 2007.
Oh, Nita. Jesus.
Right? If you wanted a guy, smoking, overworked, smoking, stressed out, fucking dude, willing to do anything to get by, that's who you elect.
Yeah. Jesus. But Pedro, you know a lot more about the masked wrestlers in Mexico and all that stuff. I mean, like even the ones that made it big in the States, that's what I give WCW credit for. I mean, they brought us La Parca, Cybernetico, and all those people up a little bit. And he was over. He was so over. La Parca was over in WCW.
Let me throw something out there.
Yeah.
Throw something out there for you. So, when talking about Rey Mysterio specifically, and a bunch of other people, there is a name people need to research, and that is Super Astro.
Mm-hmm.
They need to check out the work of Super Astro, because a lot of the things he did, people took. He popularized it in Mexico, and people took.
All right.
So, say like the 619, the Tiger Feint Kick, whatever you want to call it, he was doing that before Tiger Mask. He's not the first one to do it. No one's sure who the first one to do it is, but he's the one who popularized it in Mexico. And there's a whole bunch of other high spots this guy got over. And the big thing with him is he would do all the the grappling. He would do all the, because they used to do a lot more, catch kind of wrestling and lucha libre. So he would do all that stuff and then build up to all the explosive high spots. And the thing was his athleticism and then the smoothness of execution. Okay. This is all if you watch his stuff and then you see the people that come later who are influenced by him, you see it. When you see Rey Mysterio stuff, even from the 90s and so forth, the early stuff, you can see where this is coming from. If you're familiar with Super Astro, you can see the etymology.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I believe it because everybody steals from everybody else, so I believe it.
Well, it's not really stealing. It's
it's more like paying homage or borrowing.
passing things down.
But
yeah, he's a name that people should look at. And they'll see, maybe at first they'll be like, well, there's a lot of grappling in this stuff, but it'll come and you'll be like, oh, you'll kind of see the threads of where stuff is coming from.
Yeah.
Now, another Japanese name that was also, had some good runs in Mexico as well, was Super Delphin.
Yeah, Super Dolphin. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah,
and he was mostly known in the Michinoku Pro, but he wrestled in CMLL and Torimon and in UWA. I mean, he was really well traveled. He's to me he's worthy of being in top 6 masked Japanese wrestlers of all time.
Didn't he run Osaka Pro? Do y'all remember that?
Yeah, he formed it in '98.
I don't know if he ran it. He ran it, yeah.
Probably, but
I remember he was somehow involved with the structure of that.
Yeah, and he was the big star there because he was the super welterweight champion 5 times.
Yeah. Do you
And
remember? Do you remember Grand Naniwa? Was that his name? The crab.
Ninoa,
Yeah, the crab. He would do.
Yeah.
Didn't he do the rope walk, but doing the crab thing?
I think so. I didn't get. I don't remember watching a lot of his stuff.
Oh,
I mean, because all the stuff I've seen of Super Delphin was either was from the tape traders.
right.
Yeah. That's where I got my Super Dolphin stuff from too, the tape traders. Yeah.
Yeah, because it would always be like, it's like I ordered like, a tape with 2 hours of New Japan and some an hour All Japan, and then there's like 3 more hours, and it's like, oh hey, there's some Michinoku Pro, and
It was all taped over an I Love Lucy episode. Yeah.
it definitely was.
How about here in the States? Who are your favorite guys in the States that wore hoods?
Well, if you guys don't know who
we all know who your favorite wrestler is. Yes, we know.
I'm gonna sign off, and you're gonna do the.
I've been waiting for this to come up. Yes, go for it. Tell us. Preach.
That's one of the questions I wanted to ask you about it, actually.
Right. So in the early 1970s, the Mid Atlantic Wrestling had the spoiler, and then the spoiler left, and they were kind of wanting another masked heel, and the Bolos, the older Bolo was retiring, which left Bill Eadie running around by himself and with kind of half-ass tag teaming, and so the booker for Mid Atlantic went to Bill and said, "Hey, I got this idea for you to be the masked superstar," and Bill's like, "All right." He's like, "I like this idea. I like this concept." He's like, but I'm gonna live it, and that's who I'm gonna be, and, be that here, there, and wherever from now on. And so they kind of came to an agreement, and then that iconic, simple superstar mask.
I thought that was one of the best masks ever.
Yeah,
I mean, North. From the United States, it's hard to, it's hard to say. Non-luchador born United States wrestler. It's him, and he's just a great heel. He did so many little things. Like there was times where he would be, wrestling in Georgia Championship Wrestling, and he would go sit out in the crowd, with his arms folded, and just sit there and just watch whoever was going to be one of his future opponents, and just he wouldn't get up, he wouldn't interfere, he would just sit there and just watch the whole thing. And it was just really cool, because it's like, here's this guy who's so professional, but it's getting to the guy that he was after. So I loved that. I loved his I called it a seated clothesline, because when he would throw the running clothesline, he would come off the ropes and he would throw his feet out in front of him when he would come across with the clothesline. And that was cool and unique to me. And then when he was a vicious heel, he was he'd load the mask, that it was over.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, load the mask. Remember those? Yeah, that was kind of hard back in the day.
I mean, it's like, it looked like a piece of it looked like the bottom of a tap shoe.
Yeah.
With like, and like one side was like black and the other side was like silver, and it's like, in my head, I always thought it was like, it was like he had a piece of like foam rubber padding on one side to put against his forehead.
Yeah.
And the other guy's getting it, getting the hard metal.
Kayfabe.
Yeah. Right.
Now, Zeus, here's my question for you. I had earlier that I always wanted to ask you about Masked Superstar. I was just curious. Was Billy Eadie more over as Masked Superstar or as Axe from Demolition?
Well, I mean, Axe was such a huge global thing, but I mean, in his own way, I mean, the Masked Superstar, he
He was in his
wrestled.
better wrestling prime. He was in his wrestling prime when he was the Masked Superstar.
Yeah, yeah. The being the Masked Superstar, I think, was such a great, such a great thing because it was all him. It was the way he wanted to be, and I know they, I mean, whatever you want to say about Demolition, I mean, they were huge, and but that was such a short, it was a short part of his life. It was only about 4 years.
Yeah, but he was so
His
over as
wrestling
Axe
career,
too.
after being the Masked Superstar for a decade.
Hmm.
You know, um, so we got such we got great wars with you know Steamboat and Youngblood against Paul Jones and the Masked Superstar and the great wars in Georgia with Mr. Wrestling 2. And when I was a kid,
That's another famous mask guy. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and one of the things that always stuck with me, and this was just it was just a clip that they showed once on Georgia. I think the whole match exists out there on YouTube now, but I never saw it until years later. But the Masked Superstar and Mr. Wrestling 2 had a big match in the cage. And it was like no DQ, and it might have even been like a loser leaves town or something, but Mr. Wrestling 2 won, but Masked Superstar didn't take it laying down and was beating the crap out of him, and he had taken several masks. He'd unmasked Mr. Wrestling 2 several times, and he would go on interviews and he would bring the masks with him like shrunken heads. It's like these are my trophies. It's like my mask is still on my head. I've got my mask is laced up and you can't get to the knot. My eye holes are covered, with this patent leather stuff. Your mask is a cheap piece of cloth that just fits over your head like a sock, and that's why I keep ripping them off your head. But so he's beating the crap out of 2 after the bell, and Andre the Giant comes down to make the save and comes in and puts down Superstar and puts a towel over Mr. Wrestling 2 and carried him back to the locker room over his shoulder like a small child. And that was one of the the great moments of American style mass wrestling ever. I think.
Speaking of American style, I think the Spoiler does a good enough love. I always thought he was pretty good mass wrestler too.
Oh, very good. I mean, of course, everybody knows him now as the guy who taught the Undertaker how to walk the ropes.
Yeah.
But he's solid. I mean, he was solid in every category, and his run with the Legion of Doom. I mean, I've been watching a lot of that lately, and I mean, he's another guy. He was also kind of, he wasn't a yelling type of guy. He cut some decent promos, and fantastic in the ring. I mean, there's some of those episodes of Georgia Championship Wrestling where it's just like 2 hours of the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
It's like Hawk and Animal wrestle a match, then the Spoiler wrestles a match, then Jake Roberts wrestles a match, then he runs in on another match, and then Hawk wrestled a match, and then
I remember like the Spoiler was like the national champion for like 20 years. He always had that national championship belt. I was like, Jesus,
and Jake Roberts was the TV champion. And
yep.
But I mean, you talk about a crazy mix of guys, and then there's always dispute about the membership, the actual membership of King Kong Bundy in the Legion of Doom. There are people that will tell you he was part of it, and there are people that tell you he wasn't. So that's a fun thing we can look up, on another day. But Pedro, didn't you just watch a Destroyer match?
Oh, I'm a big fan of the Destroyer. I've seen tons of his work in Japan because that's his best stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We have to point out we're talking about Dick Brayer.
Yeah.
Because there's multiple Destroyers. Like, there's multiple wrestlers called the Destroyer, even like back then. So we're talking about Dick Brayer.
And machines. The multiple machines.
Yeah. But yeah, the Dick Brayer, the Destroyer, he is like one of the very best like workers of all time, in my opinion. Like, that guy was incredible. And you want him and Freddie Blassie deserve a lot of credit for being two guys who went and were dance partners to Ricky Dozan in sort of establishing Japanese wrestling. Like, I don't know if people give them enough credit for going there and sort of helping to be the like foreign wall that the Japanese had to overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and he was under his Dr. X. He was AWA world champion like two times, I think.
The interesting stuff, if you watch like his work, like as Dr. X in the AWA, there's not that much to see out there. But if you see any of it, he's almost like a comedic heel. He's just like a bumbling comedy like foil almost.
Actually, speaking of comedic, speaking of comedy, actually, who doesn't get enough love? And he's had a very long career, although not famous, but he's had a very long career. He had a very long career on No Hood, and it's been funny. I mean, he's had some great gimmicks with it. Shark Boy.
I guess.
Shark Boy. He was an indie darling. He did the whole clam juice gimmick. He was in a Stone Cold. I mean, he's had that mask on for like over 15 years.
Has he been around in a while? Like, he hasn't been around for.
He'll do a spot show here and there. Yeah.
I think he became a producer for Chikara, maybe.
Something like that. But he was around for a long time wearing that stupid mask, And he was older. The fans loved him. Just like another masked wrestler. And if you take it, for all the shit WWE gets, for all the overproduced and their nonsense and their stupid characters, but you got to give it to him. Kane. I mean, he's had two. I mean, you like Glenn Jacobs. He had horrible gimmicks before that. Horrible gimmicks. The fucking dentist and the fake diesel. Yeah. Horrible.
Now, I'm going to tell you right now that I didn't think much of Kane for quite a while. I mean, it took a while for me to start giving him any props because I didn't like. I mean, I didn't like the Undertaker that much to begin with, and I certainly didn't like his brother, who was, especially when the Undertaker's first name was Kane the Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To me. But I did not like. I didn't like these leather mask things like Mankind and Kane. I didn't care for that. I don't. To me, that's just. I don't know. I don't even consider that. A mask.
I got you. No, I got you.
How does Vader play into that then?
Yeah, he technically wore a mask.
Well, I mean, he has kind of a something along the lines of that. It's not like.
Well, he had a traditional. He had a traditional wrestling mask at first.
Right.
Well, at the very first one, that weird mastodon looking one, he threw that one away.
This
Along
is
with
the
that
one with
whole,
the red marks. This is the one that he had like a whole bunch of red marks.
right, the whole bodysuit. I thought it was like he had come from outer space as a meteor, and those were cracks in the meteor where the lava or energy was coming through the.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean that was my idea, because like it's like this like his headdress thing was like the spaceship part of the meteor or asteroid he was traveling on, and that was in my head, because we didn't know shit back in '89 other than that he's a great big dude, and and then they
his
they
helmet
finally
blows
brought him.
smoke.
Yeah, I mean
That was awesome. I mean, that was the best thing I've ever seen.
But they never, they never, we never got. I need to ask Luch about that if they ever really explained that, because I mean, hell, all Japan, said that the Road Warriors from outer space, but I mean, they did.
They got motorcycles in space.
Yeah, from outer space. Here come the Road Warriors. But as far as Vader's kind of career goes, I mean, yeah, he started out as a mass wrestler, and he won those 3 titles, the three titles around the world, under that mask. And I guess it was, later on, when he started ripping off his own mask, and then replaced it with that harness, just to kind of set him apart, because he did kind of have a Road Warrior Hawk haircut.
Yeah.
So I think that was somebody's idea. It was like, well, it's like he might have been tired of wearing the mask, and they said, well, here, wear this, let's make something else for you to kind of keep you from looking like a non-painted hawk, But yeah, I mean, it's, because he didn't, it wasn't his career mask, it's kind of a different thing. I mean, he's kind of, mostly remembered as, one of the greatest super heavyweights of all time.
Yeah.
So,
well,
let me ask you.
You said the Kane and Mankind masks are kind of, you don't consider them the same thing. So,
I mean, and it's just, and it has a lot to do with just the aesthetic and just that, they went, it just became something else. I mean, it's not really, even though it is a mask, it's not, to me, a mask. It's like kind of like like Michael Myers in Wing, and Freddy in Wing, and Jason the Terrible in Wing.
I remember those.
right now, if Casey's listening, he's telling me to shut the fuck up, and that
they were amazing. James, what were you gonna say?
You remember Leatherface and IWA? There you go. No, I was gonna say, where do people like the Patriots stand?
Well, I mean, he had a good career for who he was. I mean, he wasn't. He was kind of a Sting type of wrestler in a lot of ways, but I mean, he had some success in GWF and
global,
and a little bit of success in WCW and some success in WWF. I mean, it's it's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I think I wouldn't be ashamed to say that I was the Patriot.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, they're selling the Patriot masks along with other Lucha Libre legends at Lucha Libre Ice Cream and Churros. So he must be pretty good in some people's eyes.
I would get one. Why not? You know who I was never a fan of, and I thought him removing the mask was a big mistake. Not that he was all that with the mask to begin with, because he had attitude issues, but Juventud Guerrera was not one of my favorites.
Hoovy grew on me. I mean, because his his second mask, it's so Liger-esque. I felt, the way his hair came out and just kind of that overall shape of that mask. But I mean, he worked his ass off. I thought he was, there was a lot of people that were not as good as he was, and
no, I agree to that. Yeah.
Hoovy, I feel he was better without the mask than he was with the mask.
Yeah.
It's the juice.
He just had his face was better looking than his masked face, and also he is a guy whose father is so amazing. Like Fuerza Guerrera is so amazing, and like he was never going to live up to that, like ever. I mean, he's never, even now, like even old man Forza can probably still put together something better than Hoovy is going to put together. Maybe not athletically, but in terms of telling a story or something, he's gonna come up with something better. So yeah, he's always had to, he's always had that giant. It's not like we see there was a lot of people. There's a giant mountain to overcome sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And in that same, kind of, generation, we also had Psychosis, who amazingly enough.
I never understood how he could fly around the ring, but he could barely walk with those bow-legged. His leg was so bow-legged. He could barely walk down an aisle, but that man flew around the ring like it was nothing. Amazing.
Wrestlers are interesting that way.
Yeah, man. Come on. That guy looked like he was on a horse for 14 hours. His legs were like
horse for 14 hours.
It was, man. His legs were like a complete U, It was amazing. And then, but the guy, like, because he doesn't walk. He waddles. But oh, my God, he did amazing stuff. And I love Psychosis. I was a big fan of his. I really liked him.
We were talking about Tanahashi the last time we were on here. And do you remember this, Zeus? We were talking about how, he's kind of doing that weird, he can barely walk hobble. And then suddenly he has these bursts, right? Like bursts. Muto has been doing that for how long now? Like he's been doing kind of
20 years?
Yeah, he's been doing these variations of
I don't know how much of that is acting, though. I think he really is hurting.
Well, yeah, they are really hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Muta's on like his. He's had like 2 left knee and 3 right knee replacements, I think.
Yeah.
Another thing here that you just made me remember. So, in Japan, in New Japan, they came up with the wrestler Super Strong Machine. That was portrayed by Junji Hirata. And, his character, over, a couple of decades, I mean, is a big, he's a big dude and a heavy hitter. So he wasn't at all like, the small mass wrestlers in Japan, and he, I thought he carved a very respectable career out for himself, and I liked him. He's probably one of those guys that I can't explain exactly why I liked him, but he had a great running lariat, and I remember asking the first time. Well, it wasn't the first time, but one of the times where I met Mass Superstar, because the machine gimmick in WWF was all based off of his mask,
right?
And I don't remember what year that was at that, but there were multiple machines in Japan as well. I don't know if you guys remember that,
Yes.
but
Mhm.
so I did ask Mass Superstar. I said did somebody in Japan get paid for that? Because that was Super Strong Machine's mask and everything, and basically kind of everybody kind of emulated the way that uh, Super Strong Machine would talk through that mask. It was very loud and deliberate, and it kind of sounded like your face was really smushed into that material. And that got silly, but um, toward the end, but I really liked uh, Super Strong Machine. I did that great pointillism piece of him, and uh, he lost his wife to cancer, and in his retirement speech, he said he was happy, walking away from wrestling like he was going to, and that that he would do something apart from that, and something for in the memory of his wife who meant so much to him, which was I mean that's a really beautiful thing to see, and that the night of his retirement he didn't wrestle, but he was there with the original manager of the Machines, and in Machine masks were uh, I believe it was Tanahashi and Makabe and some of those guys, and they all beat the combined forces of Los Ingobernables that night, and they all the Lij guys talked shit about him after the match was over, which was perfect, for
Hey.
them.
As I remember, Andre the Giant actually called himself Giant
Yeah.
Machine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There
I
Hey.
was
remember.
now Big Machine was Blackjack Mulligan,
Right, right.
and then Mass Superstar was he Star Machine or I don't remember.
I don't remember the name.
He was a machine. I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah. I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see Bill 80 actually come out in his demolition gear and have on the Mass Superstar mask. That would have been hot. Totally fuck hey babe up.
Yeah. All right. So there was Super Machine. Okay, that was Bill.
Okay.
That was Superstar.
Okay.
Big Machine was Blackjack Mulligan. Of course, Giant Machine was Andre. Hulk Machine, no stranger there. Piper Machine. Animal Machine, George Animal Steel. Crusher Machine.
Oh my god.
Which was that was the Crusher, and Captain Lou, who was their manager.
Speaking of machine, Stardom was announcing some shows in the end of August, and one of the matches is a 6-woman match, and it's one side you have Tam Nakano, Starlight Kid, and Riho. And on the other side, you have Mima Shimoda, Yuna Manase, and Super Strong Stardom Machine.
Hey!
Nice.
If you watch the No People Gate, like Zeus saw it, he knows who I'm talking about. It's a little gimmick they did in that. So she's returning.
Yeah,
Machine is returning.
Let me ask you guys something. Is there anybody present day under hood that you like, or I should see potential?
I mean, we lost a lot of guys out of Lucha Underground.
Speaking of, what about Luchasaurus?
Well, once again, that's a plastic rubber thingy.
True.
But yet at the same time, so is Drago. But
They had Drago's mask. Awesome.
I love Drago.
If there's anybody now that really grips you, like saying, "Oh my God, he's the fucking man," or like he will be.
I'm at a loss, Pedro. You got anybody? Or?
Well, I mean, there's it's hard for me to talk about. Say, if you want me to mention people from like Mexico, like there is no one's doing anything currently, so it's hard for me to say. Like,
Well, okay, Pedro. Let me ask you a question. Then, do you think Phoenix is doing himself more harm than good if he stays with Pentagon? You think Phoenix could be a breakout star Phoenix all by himself?
Phoenix, just based on his ability to go in the ring, always has potential to be a breakout. But it's like anything else; it just depends on booking and can he avoid injuries and etc. Penta is, of course, in Lucha Underground, Pentagon was just otherworldly amazing. And nowhere else has he been that. Like, literally nowhere else has he been that guy.
That's what editing would do for you.
So, yeah, in a way. But, I mean, I think his Penta's strength is, like, in his character work, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff.
And his promos.
Yeah,
his promos.
His promos. And, like, his in-ring work, especially like in Mexico, especially if we're talking like doing indie shows, and then when he got to Impact and TNA, and then when he's in AEW, it's just so fucking lazy. I mean, the guy is just so lazy. It hurts you because I loved him so much in Lucha Underground, but it's always have to make that distinction because Penta outside of Lucha Underground would never have been, I would have called like one of my favorite current people of anything. Right. Like, I'd be like, oh, that fucking lazy guy. Like, yeah. But Phoenix, of course, I mean, in terms of his in-ring work, he's always
he's amazing
potential for whatever. But, I mean, what is your real potential in his current place? I don't know. Everyone's potential is
at a place
in the current place. So
he's at a place right now who just signed one of the best guys who can cut a promo ever. But actually, knowing them, they'll probably stick him in the ring, which he can't even walk. So there you go. So
yeah.
So when you were saying like current people wearing a mask, I was trying to think of people who are currently wrestling. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the Shingo Desperado match yet, so I don't know anything. I don't know the result. I don't know anything about that match.
I think Desperado could be really good.
He's been a IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. And he was kind of plagued by injury, and so it's he's been recovering from that, and then he works well with Doki and of course Yoshinobu Kanemaru. So I think he's got one of the most beautiful, unique masks in wrestling history, really. I mean, I love the shit out of that Desperado mask. And currently, I would have to say he's my favorite masked wrestler.
I could dig that.
And closely followed by Hijo del Fantasma.
I was just about to mention him. Do you think he's going to be bigger now, or do you think the Phantasma is going to, it's going to outshine his present gimmick?
I mean, it depends. They're doing a great job with him so far, I feel.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy how good they're doing.
And it's a play on the Phantasma gimmick to begin with,
Yeah,
mean,
and he's paying homage to his father, and he's using that as fuel to be who he is, which is a whole lot better than Jorge Broly.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
he hurt himself at the right time for whoever to come up with what's going on right now. You know, because there's a good chance if he'd have been healthy through the beginning, that he wouldn't be where he is right now.
Yeah, I get you.
And
Yeah.
he might have been like he probably would have lost to Drake Maverick, and and we would be going, oh hey, what, remember when we told you that they were going to bury him,
Yeah.
but one of the the best the best things on NXT, and now he's sadly going to 205 Live.
Brutal.
yeah,
That's not easy to watch.
yeah.
I can't. I refuse.
A masked wrestler currently who I like a lot is a Starlight Kid in Stardom.
Starlight Kid.
She has so much potential. She's so good, and she's so young. But she's been wrestling for a long time. But I mean, because she was like a little kid when she started. Her and yes.
Let me ask you guys another question. What does La Parka fit in all this?
Are we talking about the original?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, La Parka, the original La Parka, was he could kind of do anything. He could do traditional lucha. I mean, he fit in well with WCW and wrestling, American wrestlers, and brawling and the chair shots, and and the dancing. I mean, people flipped out for that shit.
He was over in WCW, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's definitely once again, I'd put him well above the Patriot as far as career greatness and exposure, and
the original La Parka, just like we're talking about the original Psychosis. I'm not talking about that other guy.
LA Park.
Yeah,
it's interesting that like in the past 7 to 10 years, he's become in some ways even a bigger star than he was before, like in Mexico, because he adapted to like say maybe some of his athleticism slowing down to just becoming just a bloody brawler. I mean, it's basically what he is now.
He's angry. He's pissed off. It's like, hey, I'm the best. I'm a legend, and you're gonna have to deal with me.
Yeah, he does those giant bloody brawls.
Now I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Okay, I'll probably take some heat over this, but I'm gonna preface this by saying, when LU was doing that big Johnny Mundo versus Rey Mysterio, I wasn't on board with it. Okay.
You mean the feud and the showdown?
Yeah.
And all that?
Yeah, I thought it was okay, but I wasn't with it. If you gave me a choice, I would have been like, no. The reason being, because I thought Rey Mysterio, that's it. I want to see the younger guys. I've seen you for 20-something years already. I want the younger talent. I want the new talent. And he's still on TV now, and they're still in the major storyline. Has he extended himself? Is it too much Rey Mysterio? Like, shit, he had fucking retired already. Because he's still in this shit right now with him, his son, and Seth Rollins. I'm like, I'm gonna have a poke your eye out match. I mean, come on, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and obviously, to me, the way it looks like Ray is sticking it out in WWE, because I think he wants everybody to bring up his son in to that family.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and he wants him to, you know, to you know, to kind of pursue that kind of a career is probably the safest and smartest thing, you know, for him. Um, so as far as Ray in Lucha Underground, I thought that they should have had Ray beat Johnny Mundo for the title.
Really?
That's my opinion. I thought they should have had him, you know, that one last.
You don't think that's a cop out?
No, I don't. I think that, I mean, otherwise, why are you bringing in Ray, who's still, you know, who's still able to go with
It was to get Mundo over, right?
I mean, but I don't think it really did. I don't think it got. I mean, I think it. You know, I think that you know, that you just kind of you would have been honoring, you know, all of Lucha Libre by putting the belt on Rey Mysterio, who's a legend, who's been everywhere, and it would have been. Yeah. I think it would have been a big feather in his cap as it would have been in LU's cap. You know, to be able to say Lucha, that Rey Mysterio had been Lucha Underground champion.
I hear that. Yeah, no, I can't argue that. I remember watching that match of that ECW match I referenced before, and how skinny Rey Mysterio was. Oh my God, that guy was a toothpick.
Yeah, he was like what 140 when he.
Yeah, he was like a featherweight. Yeah,
he was tiny, but I mean, I liked him in Lucha Underground. You know, I think that.
I did too, but I wanted him more as a mentor role. I didn't need him in my main event. I wanted to see newer people, you know, because I've seen enough Rey Mysterio. Plus, I was still turned off about, you know, shit what WCW did with him. I'm like, ugh. That really pissed me off.
Again, I mean, you know, he was kind of, he was kind of stuck. You know, he was in his contract for however many years he was in it for. And did he feel like that? I mean, of course, you know, especially back then, you know, you couldn't get out of your contract.
Yeah,
you know, so luckily, the Lucha Council, which of course we know Bean hates the fact that the Lucha Council let him put his mask back on.
A lot of fans in Mexico weren't cool with it until say he really got over in the WWE and won world titles, and then suddenly it became like, oh well, he did it for us, you know.
I think that was a great job by Vince of putting the mask back on him, and you know, like actually pushing him as Rey Mysterio again. And you know, he got a huge push like that, and you know, he was tremendously over like that. He was amazing, you know, with the world titles and everything. That was awesome. And I think it should have like slowed down and ended there. I was like, you know, okay, good. And then he got hurt. Then he got heavy. Then he got hurt. No, he kept getting injured.
I don't know how I feel about his first world title run in the WWE, to be honest, because the way they use the Eddie Guerrero's death and stuff and that. I don't know how I feel about all that still. But.
Well, you know, you're talking about a company who did Katie Vick, so there you go.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing is, you know, with everything WWFE. In general, it feels like, you know, we're always kind of having to kind of look at every situation and every wrestler from multiple sides, because, you know, WWE, you know, has done so many awful shitty things, you know, for over 40 years. You know, it's like, you know, we have to be, you know, we don't have to be happy about the angle and everything, but we can still be happy for the wrestlers, you know, who got their moments and things.
I thought that program with him and JVL was amazing. Because that's how you book a big man versus a little man. I mean, they did that. They actually did that right. The whole angle with JBL and Rey Mysterio over the title. I mean, that was done perfectly. I mean, like that's how you do it. And then you see some of the other shit they did, and you're like, why? You know?
Well, he did just have his eyeball pop out.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right, Zeus. My bad.
He's not seeing he's not seeing the good one.
He's not seeing the big picture, Pedro.
Yeah.
Holy
Looking
shit,
at his
that's
own
funny.
face with his eyeball because it's outside of his head.
Yeah, I know.
And once again,
here's
here's something that Vader ruined for this angle. He should, people didn't talk about this enough. When this eye versus eye match was coming around, and I posted the GIF. It's like, what do you do when your eyeball pops out during a match? You push it back in,
but
and you finish wrestling the match.
Yeah.
It's like why does your eyeball coming out? Why is that the end of the match? That's stupid. We've already seen that doesn't end a match, right? Unless you pull it out of your opponent's head, okay? Which,
oh my God.
Right?
Wow, I win.
Right? Not even.
Do a Kill Bill style.
Only Haku has ever won an eye versus eye match.
Holy shit.
And Jimmy Jack Funk had to live with that for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Oh my God. Jimmy
right?
Jack Funk.
So
Jesse Boy, yeah.
And that was I don't know, maybe that was just a locker room brawl or whatever. But yeah, I mean, so there's been a lot of stuff with Ray's career. I mean, because he wrestled in CMLL and AAA, and he's just he's kind of done it all. I mean, there's as far as his career. I mean, here's a good question. All right, Pedro, let me start with you.
Okay.
All right, if you had to do a Mount Rushmore with
I'm not good with that stuff.
With luchadors, with luchadors, who would be on your Mount Rushmore?
That's a good question.
I mean, that stuff is hard. I mean,
it is hard.
You have to have El Santo, you have to have Blue Demon, you have to have Mil Mascaras. The other one, there's like a gazillion people who could be the other one.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
So I mean, like
I'm putting you on the spot.
I can't. I'm not going to satisfy you. So
it's not set in stone, but I'm saying it is Rey Mysterio Jr. worthy of being that fourth spot.
I think you almost have to say yes.
I mean,
you could say yes, but he doesn't have to say yes.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm viewing it as in terms of importance for the overall thing, and I'm looking at more as the foundation stones. So yeah, I'm not going to put him in that fourth spot. No, it's going to be someone else, but I just don't know who. There's so many people I could throw out there.
You don't think he brought a lot of eyes to Lucha Libre after he made it to the States, Pedro?
Again, I'm talking about foundation stones.
Right.
That's how I'm viewing it.
Gotcha.
So he comes much further, and he's bringing eyes to a product, to a Lucha Libre that's different. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because he got me watching AAA. So he brought my set of eyes over to Lucha Libre. Because I first saw him in ECW, I was like, what the fuck is this? And all the way back in the 90s, you're like, what? No. And then so I started watching AAA because of that.
Now, here's the thing about Mount Rushmore itself, okay? Mount Rushmore is George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt. Now, Roosevelt wasn't president until 1901.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's kind of so you have, the first, second, the 15th, and then a guy from much later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically, if you wanted, I think if you said that Rey Mysterio is the Teddy Roosevelt on the Mount Rushmore of Lucha Libre.
I like that.
No one has ever said this in the history.
only him on MASK-A-MANIA when you hear that.
Rey Mysterio is the
Teddy Roosevelt of Mount Rushmore. That's awesome.
Okay, I can see it in that terms, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think because now here's the thing is you asked
Say what?
fans today, because most they were born in the 21st century.
Okay.
I think there's or late 20th, early 21st century.
Right.
Is
we're
the vast
old,
majority, especially right, especially on social media like Twitter, like we're on, and if you ask them to name a luchador, the vast majority are going to say Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah.
Whereas guys like our age, like if you asked us when we were, if you asked us to name a luchador when we were 20, I mean, I think we all would have said, Mil Mascaras would have been, one of the first names that we thought of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Pedro, maybe you not so much, but definitely, the vast majority.
Yes.
So I think that, Ray has done so much, in America, in Japan, in Mexico. He's no question, he's a Hall of Famer for WCW, for AAA, for WWE, So
no, I can't argue. That's good, yeah. And the Teddy Roosevelt of Lucha Libre.
Lucha Libre.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt. Teddy Roosevelt of Lucha Libre.
He's the Teddy Roosevelt of the Mount Rushmore of Lucha Libre.
Of Lucha Libre, wow.
He's not the Teddy Roosevelt of the presidents of the United States.
He's not just famous, folks. He's super famous. The God of Thunder, Zeus.
That's right.
Only on MASK-A-MANIA, baby.
Wow. That's like our radio PSA.
Yeah. Zeus. What's that podcast? Yeah. Only on MASK-A-MANIA. If you act now, you get a free toaster. No, that's some good stuff, man. What was that show that you was on last time, Zeus? The
Duke Loves Wrestling?
Yeah. I was listening to some of his stuff yesterday. It was not bad. It's pretty good, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, he's a good, eloquent guy. He's about an our age group, and yeah,
he was talking about NXT and AEW, and I had to agree with a lot of shit that he said about AEW. I was like, finally, somebody else gets it.
Yeah, definitely check out Duke Loves Wrestling on YouTube, and I think some other podcasting things. Maybe we can have Duke on someday.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
He grew up watching a lot of the same stuff that we did.
Yeah. And please, I don't want to hear people say, Ric Flair wore a mask. I don't want to hear that, and I don't want to hear about the Black Scorpion and the Midnight Rider and the Yellow Dog and none of that. And fucking Mr. America.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say we need to mention the greatest masked wrestler of all time, Mr. America.
Oh yeah, Mr. America, man, the best that ever did it.
The best.
The best,
brother.
I refuse. I can't. No.
Real quickly, I want to touch on female masked wrestlers. There's not like a ton of stuff really I can think of in that regard.
I know when you're going to bring up Pedro.
Oh, which one?
Zeuxis.
No, I was actually going to bring up La Galactica.
Oh, okay. I know who that is.
You don't know La Galactica? She was Pantera Surena, like the Southern Panther in Mexico, and then All Japan Women, they like brought her over as La Galactica, and she feuded with Jaguar Yokoto, and they had the famous. It was a match where her mask was on the line, Jaguar's hair and the red belt were on the line, and Galactica won, and they had to cut, Jaguar's hair. Although they didn't fully shave it. Gave her a trim.
Sit in the chair for 10 minutes. Wow.
Gave her a trim. But yeah, they had a big feud, and she had like a big career there, and then back and all that kind of stuff. So I always think about her because she is someone who was from Mexico and came and had this big thing in Japan, and brought it back.
Actually, you know who I thought could have been really used, but fucking self-destructed and sabotaged her own career? Sexy Star.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
She could have been, because everybody loved that match. She had that no mask match in LU, and she, everybody was on her side, and the whole shit happened down in Mexico, fucked everything up.
Yeah, she definitely did that to herself.
Yeah, self-destructed.
Yeah. One of the last real memorable apuestas match, in women's lucha libre was that Zeuxis versus Princesa Sukhid.
Yeah. Well, I love that match, of course. That was my favorite feud in all of wrestling in 2017. I was so invested in that feud.
Yeah, that was fun.
And then it ended the way I wanted it to end it. So even that made it even more up my alley. Like, yes, Zeuxis won.
I like Lady Shani.
Princessa Suge had another apuestas, but this was without the mask. But it was for the hair versus La Seductora that people should check out, because that's one of the best pure apuestas we've had in years, because it was like an old-fashioned apuestas with blood and violence, and like a real sense of hate. That gets lost a lot in some of the modern apuestas. But
with a real sense of hate, I like that.
Well, no, it's true. If you watch like the classic apuesta matches, that you really feel like they hate each other. You really feel it. And but in the modern ones, not so much. It just worked like any other match. They work title matches and apuestas like the same way now, and they used to be like they were very different. They're very different style matches. Oh, but a masked wrestler, I think we haven't mentioned is El Hijo del Santo.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit! That's right, Pedro. Yeah, good job.
I mean, in my opinion, work-wise, he's like, there's like so few who even compared to him. Well, Dos Caras, Dos Caras is like Mil Mascara's sidekick, but El Hijo del Santo had to follow his father.
Yeah.
And he was not as big as his father, like physically. He had to wrestle a whole different way than his father, and I mean, he like kind of surpassed his father in terms of the in-ring quality. He surpassed his father. He never surpassed him in terms of a legend, of course. And I mean, that's a guy who you have decades, not just like he doesn't have one good run. He has decades, like 3 or 4 decades of amazing matches, and his apuesta matches are just like the best apuesta matches you can watch. He was amazing.
Actually, who do you think had the worst run under a mask?
the worst run under a mask.
Yeah, there's some wrestlers who we know who just donned the mask and had such a horrible run that they totally gave it up. I mean, I know Undertaker had a run under a hood once, and it was so bad that they just nixed the whole fucking gimmick.
Mm.
Yeah, him as a Red Rider wasn't.
Yeah, him. What was the? Oh shit! What was the gimmick that Sid Vicious used to do on their mask? It was real bad.
Well, that was Lord Humongous.
Yeah, Lord Humongous. There you go. Yeah.
That was under Jason mask.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah, he had the neck brace too, so he was going full on Road Warrior. Shane Douglas, like that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, it's horrible stuff. Oh, how about that guy? How about our boys back in the days? Didn't Jericho and Eddie Guerrero and all those guys wear masks in Japan? The Super J, remember the early Super J's?
Eddie was the second.
A Black Tiger.
He was the Black Tiger, right?
Yeah. I don't recall Jericho wearing a mask, did he?
No.
Just that one time he was Super Liger.
Oh, okay.
And that was extremely frowned upon.
He
looked and acted just like Jericho wearing
Jushin Liger mask. Yeah. Well, was it Benoit Pegasus Kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who was also a Black Tiger was a Silver King.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, he was the third.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never knew that. Look at that.
And we lost the first Black Tiger this week.
Yep.
Yeah, Pedro said that. Yeah.
Just yesterday or so, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark Rollerball Rocco.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Who did Lasertron?
Hector, right?
Hector?
One of the girls, right?
Yeah. I saw him in the NWA house show. He wrestled 3 fucking times in one night. It was awesome. Awesome.
Well, we can talk forever on Mask, but we gotta get going.
Even a super famous Zeus showed up at the world premiere of Churros and Ice Cream under a hood.
Yes.
He was signing autographs. He was just signing LZ. That was it. It was awesome.
LZ.
That was good stuff.
Yeah, it was Hector. Hector was Lasertron.
Hector was Lasertron? Okay, cool.
He won the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title. Pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, we easily talk about this all day, you know?
And they should have gotten Lasertron a partner, like a Lasertron 2 or something, because
Lasertron 2 Electric Boogaloo. Yeah.
but like nobody for him, is
yeah. No, I agree.
Against the New Breed, and the New Breed were
yeah, you're right.
And it's like it was always Lasertron and some damn buddy. It's like, but they could have put Chavo under a mask and made him like something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
I mean that's
the Tron versus the New Breed was a lot.
I mean, honestly, Lasertron was a stupid gimmick and he didn't need it, but it worked. It worked. For
it did work. He was over.
Yeah.
He did work, man. He fucking came out 3 times in one night, and the crowd popped. Each 3 times he came out, he popped. You know what I'm saying? The crowd popped.
Oh, and let's not be remiss and remember how many times they put Brad Armstrong under a hood.
Oh my God!
Bad Street, Arachnaman.
Oh, Arachnaman, that was the worst.
And as Bad Street and Brad Armstrong interfered in the same match as Southern Boys against the Freebirds. He interviewed twice in the same match.
Jeez.
So
You always want to go back in time and figure out what the hell were you thinking, you know? Like, what are you doing?
you know, Brad was just kind enough to always say yes. Hey, Brad, we got a new idea for you. Yes. We haven't told you what it is, but I'll do it. Are you sure? Yes. What? I don't care. You know, but we're gonna make you the candy man. All right, fine, whatever. You're gonna give out candy to the kids. Okay. Whatever. We're gonna make you like Spider-Man. All right, whatever. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better fucking employee than Brad Armstrong, because here he is, a damn, you know, got the talent of a world champion, you know, and the yes man attitude that nobody ever had. You know, we want you to put George South over. Sure, whatever. I'll do it. You know.
He was the most talented of all the brothers. It was him.
Oh,
I mean, he could go in the ring. I mean, he was fantastic in the ring.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah. This is the problem with covering every kind of mask possible, is we can talk about it forever. So.
We'll have to talk more about it in the future. I hope everyone.
How do we go from Mil Mascaras to fucking Brad Armstrong? That was brutal.
Right?
Hope everyone has a safe week. And speaking of masks, everyone wear your mask and stay safe out there.
Everybody put their Rey Mysterio Jr. mask on and be safe. Wash your hands. And thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. It's good to be back with the guys. Love it.
We'll see y'all later. Everyone take care and adios.
I'm on to wear a mask. I'm on to wear a mask. Wear me.